I still think after 15 years and more that people don't know what they want. They think they have an idea because they don't know, what UX still is. And it is funny because all those companies that you mentioned, I've gone into and it's the same thing. It's amazing how you're just going, how are we so much into the future that we're still arguing the same thing? That there's value to what we do, and it's a lot of research and a lot of you're basically detectives and you're trying to find all this stuff.
Amazing.
Guess where?
Kirsty, thank you. Thank you. We're live. We did it. Thank you so much, Kirsty, for coming on. This is so exciting. I'm always a bit nervous for these things. This is only my second one, but I shouldn't be because I know you. We know each other. We go back
Yeah,
a bit, don't we?
I think it's just the recording of it. But you know what? If it doesn't work, then we do it again.
Yeah, we do it in the mix. It will still sound really fresh and original. We won't be going back. so, so I know you, Kirsty. We go back. I guess like more than 10 years. I think it's like John Lewis time, wasn't it? So it'd be like
Yeah,
2015, 2014, going back that kind of time. I
yeah.
I've done a little bit of I've reviewed your file, and
My
you have.
file?
Yes, I found it on LinkedIn.
That just sounds like I'm a criminal. I've got the file.
You're a criminally excellent designer. I'll put that in. So you've got over 15 years of experience in UX design, strategy, research, and accessibility. And you've been doing freelance. You've done perm. You've gone back to freelance. You've done perm. You're kind of going around quite a lot, which I think is a really good thing to do. Actually, I've done that a lot as well. I think that makes people super strong as designers. You were even the former head of UX UI accessibility. That must have been just after I left. That's super cool. And you've worked with loads of big brands like Adidas, TalkSport, and Tesco, and lots of big brands. And you're currently the UX strategy designer and researcher at Tesco Technology. They call it Tesco Technology, and you also, I knew this, but I've been trying to find pictures, but you sketch and you are a practicing artist, and you've also had your stuff displayed in some galleries. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Yes, you've gone very pixelated. I don't know if that's a diagram
Right.
or a sketch, but I can still hear you. It's okay. This is how it is. I I would love. If you can arrange it, I would love to have something I could see of a sketch or one of your like art pieces because you've got one behind you, haven't you?
I do, yeah. This
It's
is
very
this,
pixelated at the moment, so we may not be able to see it yet. But maybe the internet will buffer and then it'll go into sharpness again. But that's super cool. How do you tell people what you do? Like, because you do so many things. Like, so if someone just meets you on the street and they go, "What does Kirsty do?" How do you explain it?
I'll probably just say I'm a jack of all trades. You know what? Whenever I get asked, in terms of work, what do you do? And I'll always go because it's so hard to explain, what I do. The title doesn't really mean anything, but in industry, it does. But when you explain it to someone, I just go, look, I look at whatever complex problems there are going on, and I'll use that information and pattern and research, and then I'll analyze it, and then I will provide a strategy plan in terms of what to do to make it much more simplified for the users or the business.
That sounds
And
great.
and that's how I explain it.
Yeah, because the industry doesn't
And it
like.
always changes.
Yeah, the industry doesn't like this kind of thing anymore. Like they like product designers and
Yeah.
like product managers, and they don't really like UI designers, and they definitely don't like UX consultants. But those are all the things that you're doing, but it's just kind of under different names, right?
I still think after 15 years and more that people don't know what they want. They think they have an idea because they don't know, what UX Still is. And it is funny because all those companies that you mentioned, I've gone into very, and it's the same thing. It's amazing how you're just going, how are we so much into the future that we're still arguing the same thing? There's value to what we do, and it's a lot of research and, a lot of you're basically detectives and you're trying to find all this stuff. And I firmly believe that processes are in part of this. So it's not just looking at how the user interacts with something, it's actually the process behind this. So so I do a lot of service design as well, where I look at what the businesses are in the background, how they're sort of functioning and talking to one another, because they're all connected and it all plays a game. And I laugh every time. And one of the things is, people go, "Oh, we're working in a product where," I'm like, "Are we? Because I don't think you are. You've latched onto the name. You've gone, let's create this. Let's create these teams. Let's get a UX in." I'm like, but why do you need a UX? What is it that you're trying to do?
Well,
So I always do it in that way, where I'll ask the question and go,
you've always like, from when I knew you've been like, someone said this word to me, but I think it might apply to you. I think you're a bit of a magpie, like collecting different skills
don't say that.
and
Don't look
like
at me.
broadening, like just on your profile, it said you started out as a graphic designer, I think, and
Correct.
then you went into web design, and then you went into like the UX, and you went to accessibility, and I think you can code from memory. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you can code too. Yeah, so you're. You're the second person I've spoken to. I think you're like the unicorn they always talk about, right? Because you can do service design, UX, UI, code, like that. That's quite a big church of skills there.
Exactly. And the way that I use that is it actually helps me because I have an understanding of certain sections. Now, it's not necessarily that I'm, let's say web designer front end. I haven't kept up to date in terms of what people do, but I talk to designers and I work with them to understand what they sort of are doing and what tools they're using. So I'm never like not doing that. It's just I'm a little bit away from it and I'm doing what I like doing, which is research, the investigating, the talking to people and finding out what to do, and then providing advice to them. I'm so much I love the discovery part. This it's my and I'll always think of you, Danny. Not in a funny way.
Say it, yeah.
But you were the one that have
Oh,
been the one, the only one that went, "Kirty, you're dyslexic." And I went, "What are you talking about?" You
oh,
went, "You're dyslexic." And you then sent me on a assessment course, which I honestly, it's changed me so much
oh.
because I understand I can see patterns. I can, this is why when it comes to discovery, I'm so good at like analyzing the information, actually seeking out what it is. Even if someone says, "Oh no, just concentrate on looking at how the user interacts with something," I'll say no, because it's all the other parts that sort of touch on it that are important, because it's not just what the user's doing. There's other things that connect it to this. So for me, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'm like looking at that in that way. I,
Yeah, it's funny you say jigsaw puzzle because, and just for people listening and watching, like I can give a little bit of context to I think the story you're talking about. So when we worked together, I remember we were actually pioneering discovery phases in John Lewis and trying to bring in this idea of having a discovery template, and they were kind of like these decks, and I think I kind of put some headers in it and stuff and said, right, when you start working on a project, like before it really starts, why don't we spend a couple of weeks like trying to figure it out and stuff like that? And I think it's been done like that before, but not quite with like a template and with like headers and stuff like that. And so it was kind of like a report, I suppose, like in a really like formal, dull sense, but
yeah,
they didn't look that way. They were quite colourful and they had screenshots and stuff. And I remember seeing your one of the things that you produced, and I remember reading it and being like, it doesn't make sense, but I think there's some really good things in here. And then we would talk, and I was like, everything you're saying like is really clever. We talked about it once or twice in the past, and I'm like, really it's really hard for me to take like praise. Like I crave it all the time, and then when someone gives it, I feel like, oh,
Yeah,
let's move on to
I
the
know,
next topic.
I know exactly.
But I'm so like I'm really I think about it, the story you're telling. It's something I do think about from time to time, because you had told me later that it had like quite a profound effect on you, and what you were just saying there is helping me understand it more. How as designers, something that I thought a lot about it, and I say to a lot of people who don't know anything about UX, I'm like, it's actually about people. That's almost what most of it is about, is figuring loads of stuff out, and then right at the end, there's like some designing that happens where you
Yeah.
actually do like, get the mouse or touchpad or whatever it is and actually do the thing. But the design begins in those conversations, and from what I'm connecting now, is that some of that work that we did together, and some of the support that you had has enabled you to realize that you're actually really good at all that people stuff of tangling the mess, spotting patterns and stuff like that, which is so important. They don't really teach that stuff in boot camps, I don't think. They go straight to the Figma, the Miro templates, which shows you how to run a workshop. But what I'm hearing is that you're really valuing a lot of that stuff that happens before all of that.
Oh,
Is that
100%.
is that right?
I anything like that complex, I'm there. I love it. I love that up. I if you speak to other UX designers, they're gonna probably disagree, but I always think the actual producing, the building designing is the easier part, because the chunk of this work has been done, where you've gone out, seen if there's value, seen, all this other stuff, put it all together, and then presented that back and gone, should we now move forward with this in terms of developing, etc. And I just feel like that part for me is the part I'm not interested in. I'm
Well,
more
that's
interested in the investigating part.
that's diverging, and that's how I hear it. It's like diverging is going wide, asking questions, and then converging is like
Yeah,
like
I've
and
heard that
and
a lot. Yeah,
loads of people hate diverging. It's so funny. Like I go into like the experience I've had, I go to gigs, and everybody's like, if you ask these broad questions of like, why are we doing this project, and what are the goals, and like how did it, sometimes it's like, oh, don't ask all these questions, like I think we've got a solution, so let's just crack on. And people feel like this sense of like relief when the solution has been kind of described, and it's like, great, we can converge. But I find like you converge too quickly, and you just end up having to do it all over again, and it doesn't really work, and it doesn't make any sense. And trying to like keep people from converging and making them wait in divergency, like I think that's a real skill. It sounds like that's what you're doing.
and from what you just said, this is why I sigh, because I'm like,
Yeah, why did you
we're not
say?
the ones we're not the ones at that stage to go, no, 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 no. We're actually there to sort of be the ones to help, right? Whether or not this is something that you should spend time, effort, money into doing. But I think, and if you kind of step into their shoes, they've got KPIs to do. They've got to deliver something. They've got to, and it's already been in a roadmap or something like that. And it's already, and we've got to do it. We've now got engineers. We've got this. We've got that. We're just going to produce. But I always sigh, because I'm like, but what is it that do you know what you're doing and what you're trying to solve, and whether or not what you're doing impacts anything else around it? So
Mm-hmm.
it does take certain types of people to actually keep questioning people like that. And I think I saw that from you a lot, where initially I'm sure people, when they look at this, they'll go, oh, I didn't like Danny. Why not? Because he was always like, da, 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 question, 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 this. Whereas I'd come from a background, web design, you just kind of stay, you just do that design, there it is. And I was bored. But actually, when I was working with UXers and actually understanding, the accolades that you got, they were just like, oh, you're someone who will push boundaries. You're someone who will, ask. the questions that people probably don't want to answer because they don't know why they're doing certain things. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So you
Another way
moved
of being creative. Yeah.
you moved from converging to diverging, like
Yes.
in the diamond. Like you
Yeah.
started as a graphic designer with someone that would give you a brief, don't ask questions, keep your mouth
Do it
shut,
that way.
knock out the design, show us when it's done, and we'll throw rocks at it and tell you how it can be better.
And
And
do
you
like
moved
20
from
designs, by the way, not just one, and then go back to the original one. Great.
yeah, yeah. I started as a web designer as well. Well, a web designer. I hated it. I would do a
Yeah.
design, and then I'd have to show it to my boss, and then it'd be like, I'd have to come up with another version or take the feedback, and it was all subjective. So
Exactly. It was that one person going, well, I don't like it. I'm like, well, you do it then, because
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah,
come up
yeah,
with something. You do it. It was just, yeah, I didn't like it, and I also think it's the years as well. So the way that the industry was going, and pretty much what you said, there's UX, UIs, product. I was actually talking to someone about this only just yesterday, and because I started thinking about the split of UX. UX is so broad. You do a lot of stuff, right? You do discovery, you do research, you then do product design, build, develop. And I was like, I believe that there's two roles here. There's someone who does the research, UX, discovery, and then there's those who are the builders who love doing that part and they can carry on doing that. And these people do this part, but you still work together. You still like combine. And I was like, I want to fit into that category where I'm doing all of this research, going out there, and then talk to the builders and go, hey, this is what we uncovered, give you the synopsis. You come up with something creative, design that will fit the goals of what we're trying to achieve. And that's where I'm kind of starting to see this is probably where industry should go. And the reason why I say that is because if you speak to product owners and UXers who people like me who do these kind of roles, it's you're kind of combined together. Although there's some skill sets that product owner does and some like UX, but a lot of it is crossovers.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You sort of work, and this is why you start off with that team to work together rather than bring people in later on.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
always thinking, oh, let's bring in UX later on to build and design with the because they still don't understand, and it's just no, bring me in early, and I'm telling you now, I can give you insights from what you could do or what you probably shouldn't do, and that also comes with years of experience as well from having done this before. People still make the same silly mistakes, and it's just
yeah,
it is
yeah.
silly.
I love it. I love it because what I hear you saying is like things have changed a lot, and yet some ways they're like exactly the same.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's a different company, it's a different team, it's a different product, it's a different year, but it's still the same stuff. It's still people getting muddled up, trying to figure out what it is they're supposed to be doing, going back to the drawing board, starting again. What are we doing? I think a lot of that's the I got it. I remember I got this from Clear Left actually. Our our saviors at one time, and they
Remember
would just use that word shared understanding like all the time, and I remember that was something I really took away from that. It was just like shared understanding, and I heard another one, collective wisdom as well, which is kind of quite interesting. Of like we all have something to contribute. We all have different knowledge. How can we draw on that collective wisdom? How can we create spaces in projects and in design? And that's like good workshopping, good facilitating, right? Where
that?
where that collective wisdom is drawn upon. That's something as designers that like we should be able to do.
I've also been like looking at a lot of research, and I'm not going to say I'm a sort of skilled expert researcher, but I have foundational understanding and have been doing research for years. But it's different types of research. Um, and whenever I speak to, say, product owners or other UXs or anyone like that who says, this is what the problem is. I'm like, okay, what's your hypothesis and what are you trying to solve? So those things, I'm just getting them to think. And it's hard because people are like, no, well, this is what I want to deliver. I'm like, no, no, no. Let's work backwards. What is it that you're, what do you think the problem is? And then you can go out there and do the research. And I can actually help you identify what type of research. And that's based on time as well. So some people don't necessarily have a long time. They don't have like 4 to 6 weeks. They've got only a week to actually look at it. I'm not saying falsify any information. It's just in that time frame, what's the best method of doing research and how to get. And a lot of people, and I've worked throughout the easier thing to do is always put a question in. I'm like, please don't do that. You just, again, thinking back, if you think at someone who's got an email inbox and the amount of noise that's coming through,
Yeah.
ignore that and just be like, this is now cognitive overload. I don't want to, bother with that, etc., etc. And your answers may not come back 100% truthful. It could just be easy, done, boom. So I always kind of think about like, how does the end person who's going to actually do this, how does it come across for them, and at what time, and what.
And that's the empathetic thinking. You're trying to put yourself in their shoes and really try to imagine, like, which I guess just gets lost, doesn't it? Like,
It does.
people could get like very consumed with the solution and can get quite pulled away. I have been feeling like, oh sorry, yeah, I've been feeling this like strange pull in what I'm reading in like the sector and the industry, about how, that's how everything's like outcome focused at the moment. And it's like, if you see like what they say about CVs, it's like, don't say what your roles and responsibility were, say what the outcome was. And it's
Oh
this sense that,
yeah.
yeah, I know. I don't
Come
really
on,
get that because
rewrite my CV. Come on.
I don't really get it because it's like I could put like I was at John Lewis and the conversion went up, like 3%. Like, was that me that did that? Like, I
Was it a
managed
collective of
some
people?
designers
Yeah.
that contributed to that, and if I hadn't have been there, like maybe they would have been more stressed and wouldn't have as good equipment and not done it as well. Like, I kind of, unless you're like a founding designer, like I don't really understand like making outcomes such a big deal, like because it's so hard to quantify. But my point was that I think the reason why things are going outcome focused in the market is because there's a slight pullback in UX of like, how they're saying like UX is dead and all this kind of stuff. I think that's because they're like, we've been focused on the customer too much and not enough on like business objectives and business outcomes, and they don't care about our processes and our wireframes and all that. What they want is 5x engagement, 10x, da 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 da. And so there's been sort of like this pullback to like making UX more grounded in like business objectives. And I wonder, I mean, is that something that you're seeing, or are you hearing that language, or are you not kind of getting that kind of noise?
I'm not hearing that. I can understand why that could be. So I left uh, e-commerce customer years ago. Like, so I do a lot of internal researches, currently in the cloud space, looking at infrastructures and all that sort of stuff. And I love that. I think actually e-commerce to converting someone to buy is just boring for me.
Yeah,
It's like, this is boring. This is too much. Because it's just the same thing. You just want them to click on the button, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
So if that's going on and people are not being allowed to sort of think outside of that, because we worked together. We worked in a space where you were not allowed to overstep. You can only work on within your
wasn't
control.
encouraged.
Yeah, you can only work within your control, and whatever those designs are, those are the designs. So actually, no, because there's a lot of factors that go behind the scenes, and you need to understand that to then how this design is being created. So I believe there's like two parts, that people are probably not being able to be as creative or outthinkers and just cloned into doing that part. But then I'm not hearing that because I'm someone who questions everything. I just,
Excellent.
I just
That's why we get on.
question everything. I've always been someone who's like, look at what the consumer's doing, but also the business, because at the end of the day, you can't have something without both, right? You can't
Mm.
have a business without your consumers, and you can't have your consumers without a business. So I always look at it where, what is the goal for the business? So what are we doing? And I remember your post-it notes going there. What are our business goals? What are our customer goals? What are this? And it's just like getting people thinking. And then like, what's the time frame? What's the what's the problems we're trying? Da, 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 da. And then I'll go and investigate. And I'll come back and go, look, need more time, or this is what I found out so far. But I'm always questioning everything. And I found I'm more empowered as someone who's dyslexic. Whenever I do these interviews and research, I'll always go, I'm dyslexic, so
Yeah,
hope you don't mind. I'm going to record this and I'm going to write this down. I'm very much a visual
excellent.
person. And you know what I find? People share that they either have something or but not been diagnosed. And I can also now spot in certain people if
Yeah,
right? And it and then you just change the way that you can speak to someone or work with someone. And it's just yeah. But that's the
that's
only
yeah, that's
skill
really
that I've got.
interesting. I'm hearing like definitely like some behaviors and ways of looking at design in terms of being curious and asking questions, and also how you being like to a degree like vulnerable and kind of honest about what you're working with in your own self, and by sharing that with participants or with colleagues, that opens up like conversations that might not otherwise happen. And I think what I've always been quite curious about is, I think you can have good designers and they exhibit a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. But like, and you've worked in a few places now. Like, what what do you think? What cultures make good designers? Like, so what kind of companies have you sort of felt like, oh wow, like I could really run here, as opposed to I get back in my box.
Um, that's an interesting question. Let me just
Yeah, take your time.
pause. And if could you repeat it again as well? Just
Yeah, so I'm interested, and I really appreciate you asking me to ask you again and to pause. I really appreciate that. I think it's great because I just shoot from the hip and then just talk dribble sometimes.
just do
So
it. And I'll just go, I don't think I answered the question because I heard something else, and that's my
yeah,
dyslexic brain going.
yeah, no, and in this format, I think that's really easy to do because we're like we're where the red light's on, and then like there's like how I'm being perceived, and then there's answering the question, and it's all happening at the same time, and it's like a bit of a head screw. Um, but yeah, let me ask the question again. So, could you think back in your experience to different working cultures in the companies you've been in that have made you feel like you can do really good design work, and you felt really supported, and you felt encouraged to do the kind of things that you're talking about, asking questions, being divergent, that kind of thing?
That's an interesting, uh, and I think there's several answers, so I can't answer it as a one whole thing. I can't say this one company that I work for.
Yeah, yeah,
It's genuinely the people that you're around and the manager that you have, right? Because many of these people who I've worked with, when I've seen good managers, and I'm talking, they're not managing people, they're actually leaders, they're actually, going, get some training, do this, I can spot this, this, this. That's where I feel like the culture, it starts from there, and then team collaboration, encouraging people to upskill, encouraging people to share work, encouraging setting those sort of safe environments to do all of that, give criticism but in a positive way where you're learning and growing. That for me is important. And any interview that I go into, I always, so as a contractor, I always ask the question, I go, what is your team culture like? You know,
yeah, yeah. And what are
how
you
do
what are
you,
you
how
listening
do you
for?
yeah, how do you guys work together? And I'll hear out what they're actually saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I don't care what the pay was or anything. It was more, if I don't feel like I'm going to be happy here for the next
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months, then what is the point of me joining somewhere and just kind of being a doer? I was like, I'm
But,
going to be.
what makes you happy as a designer?
What makes me happy?
As a designer, yeah.
So I can give you recent examples. What makes me happy is actually feeling empowered to get on with the work and it's just
Yeah.
flowing. So manager that I'm
It's
with
autonomy.
is just he's totally hands off, and I love
Yeah.
that. I hate
Yeah.
being micromanaged. Don't get me wrong. There's some people who love to be told
Like
instructions.
clarity. Like here's your to-do list today.
Me, I don't work like that because my brain is so creative. I'm like, oh, da, 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 da. And then I'll go off and do that work. And I've never had any issues with that, and nor have the people that I've worked with. So for me, it's that empowerment of getting on and doing it. Because at the end of the day, you've hired me. You should trust me to do
Yeah.
the work, right? And that's what I'm doing. And I think that confidence comes from when I was doing contracting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I'm my own business. How do I want to be perceived and presented to people? Of course, I want to do my best. So I need to show them that. And they've hired me. And as you said, consultant, right? They've hired me. They want to hear the feedback. They want to know. So I felt more empowered to do that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Something that's really interesting. Like I can really relate how I think contracting can really I think it like really matures you as a designer. Like it's
it's
funny, like
confidence.
the market at the moment, it doesn't like people who have lots of experience and have done lots of things. It likes people that have done the same thing on repeat. So if you were like a contractor and you hopped around and you did different stuff versus someone who was in house who did the same thing for like 5 years, they'll go for the in house person. It's mental.
That's
And
ridiculous.
yeah, and I'm thinking back to when I was hiring, and if I saw a contractor who wanted to go perm, I was like, yeah, wicked. They'll come in, they've got all the latest stuff, they'll be flying, they'll be going really quickly, like, and they'll have this like presentation in the way that they think and work, which is demanded of a freelancer, like more so than a permie, I think, and I think one of the things that I've I've been working on a lot is someone said to me, it's really senior bod at Clark's actually. I did some time at Clark's, and I could see problems everywhere, which I think maybe is some kind of neurodivergency that I'm learning about. That's another story, and I could see all these problems everywhere. I was like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, And I go over to her and I say like, oh God, can I just have a minute of your time? She's really senior, but she's really nice to me, and she's like, don't put monkeys on my back, you know. And what she was saying was like, and that's like a nice way of saying it. What she's saying is like, don't bring me problems, like bring me
Yeah.
solutions. That's what she's saying,
Mm.
and it made me think as a contractor how, like, it's not about just complaining and spotting things that are wrong. It's like, so what's the solution? Like, how will you solve that? Like, what do you need from them in order to solve the problem you've seen? Which I think as a contractor, I got into. I've been trying to develop that a lot more as opposed to just saying that's not very good. That's not very good. It's like how can we make it better?
That's
Does that
exactly
make sense?
100%. I agree with you. The going, this is a problem. Okay, cool. But what are you going to do about it? You can say it's a problem. No one's ever going to do anything, and then you're going to ignore it. But
Yeah,
actually going, this is a problem. This is how you could do something about it, and this is where I see the value of it. Oh, you've just rephrased it a bit, and you've gone. Now you've given someone a chunk of an idea of going, let's see if we can invest um, time, money, and effort into this.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's something my brain was like, so when you were saying something, it was like I just need to say something. That's how I dyslexic people they do that, but I can't. And then I was like, I got to hold my tongue, hold on. And now I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Oh my God. I so I've written a manual of me,
Yeah.
and on my manual of me there is a page, and it says things I'm trying to do better, and it says to listen. And I something I'm finding really difficult, and I've been exploring it with my therapist,
Yeah.
and it's like it's where like I find if I'm listening to someone and they say something, and then it sparks an idea, and I want to say it, and I worry that if I wait until they finish talking, like the idea will go. And I mean, I found it helpful to write down while someone's talking what it is I want to say, so
You
it doesn't
also,
go.
you might be dyslexic because I actually saw you glaze over as well. So I was like, that's what
Yeah,
I do.
yeah,
Like,
no, I
because it could be a trigger word and I'll go, and then connect it to something else, and the person could carry on talking, and that listening part. When I spoke to a friend of mine who's neurodivergent as well, has ADHD and something else, I was like, oh, I really wish I could just, I wasn't dyslexic and I could like listen and etc. And they go, but why? Why do you want to do that? You're very creative. You're very what the other person needs to do is actually understand and be a bit more empathetic and go and give you that extra time to be, because that's a different way of being and they're a different way of being. I was like,
yeah.
that's true. Why should we try and fit in and fix? And I think a lot of so if I was to go back to UX, like when it came to web design, when it came to graphic design and stuff, I was in a box and it was just like, couldn't really, say anything or do anything. Whereas I felt a bit more like it doesn't matter what I ask because it's not going to be stupid or perceived as stupid because that's my job. I'm meant to be asking questions. So I felt a bit more empowered about it. Whereas in the classrooms or anywhere else, I would not even dare to put my hand up, or in meetings wouldn't even dare to put my hand up because
You really you wouldn't dare to put your hand up. Really? What would you
and I
think would
also think the
happen?
culture of how it was before was kind of you'd be laughed at if you ask a question that might not even.
Yeah, and you
Whereas
know
now,
what? Like, well, we're like, halfway down the track in our career, and maybe we don't feel that as much. But there must be people maybe who are listening or at the start of their career who feel that. Who, I mean, like, I was in a big design consultancy a couple of years ago, and there were people there who were like fresh out of boot camp, like literally they'd done boot camp and then they got like a graduate placement. And I was in some meetings and they were like high wire acts, real huge egos, quite aggressive kind of like posturing and pushing. And then there's someone there who's on the call, who's like it's their first gig. They've got like 3 months experience, I kind of was like, I don't know what on earth they are making of this, and what they feel their contribution can be
yeah,
in this clearly like unsafe environment. It is
yeah.
not safe to like put your hand up and point something out. Like, and so there's that kind of, oh, is my role to just sort of be quiet? Like I worry about that. Does that
Or
make
to be
sense?
quiet and just do the doing. And I was like, I'm not a doer. I'm not a yes person. And that's
Yeah,
something I've learned. I've gone. I will say that this is the wrong thing to do. And if they're adamant that that's what they want to do, I go, cool. I've given you my professional advice, etc., etc. You do what you need to do.
yeah,
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 yeah. But
yeah. I think. Do you find some people here? Because I call that like truth, calling out truth, or like dropping a truth bomb, or like speaking truth to power, and like that's kind of how the terms I think of that. Like sometimes I'll say something that is a little bit controversial because I'm pointing out that someone hasn't really thought through the project properly, and I try to do it in a diplomatic way, but sometimes it still hurts a bit, and do you find like when you have this moments where you spot something and maybe no one has seen it and you share it and it is a bit hard for maybe some people to hear, like do you find that that's how is that received, and how do you feel when you're saying it? Do you feel like excited or scared or like nothing? Like how is that experience of like I'm going to say something a bit controversial?
I don't ever think it is controversial.
Oh, I think you're great.
I just think, how did you not see this? Why
Yeah.
can't you see this? What is, am I the only one? Hello. And then just say it. But then that could also be the neurodiverse head of me just going, how did you not spot this?
Yeah.
And it could be that. So you're just raising it, I guess. You're not, there is no controversial.
Mm,
I don't think it should ever be seen that way.
mm.
You're just going, hey, you didn't spot this. I spotted this. What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
at
no,
least that's now raised. So if you think about it in post-it note terms, it's on there. It's been captured. We're aware of it. If nothing's ever done about it, that's a different thing.
but you feel better because you've at least got it out and said it, right?
Yeah, and it might not necessarily be like, oh yeah, we did think about it, we just not shared it and blah blah blah. Okay, cool, thank you. No, I know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That makes sense.
I
Yeah, I
think
can really relate with that.
uh,
So I'm curious, like, in terms of, I'm hearing like you share lots of experiences about how you approach work and some principles that you work with. Like, has there been times where you you've gotten quite stuck, like not really sure, like whether it's a design that you're not sure how to sort of like
I can give you a
solve? Like,
perfect example.
yeah, I'm curious because
This is like an
I just
interview. I'm like, oh yeah, I got
yeah, well, I just feel like there's always these polished case studies and thought leaders, and you just don't hear
this
like
is
when did
it.
it like
My
not go
brain's
right?
come back to it. Right, let me answer the other question. So, why is it that UI and UX, I'm assuming, are the only uh, roles that you need to show a portfolio?
That you need to what?
Show a portfolio.
Oh, shop portfolio. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just think, why? Why do you need something polished that's showing you a portfolio? Let's have a conversation. You're gonna give me a test. I know this. I can give you how I think about things and what my process is. But it's going back to your point of, what did you do? Oh, uh, the our KPI was this, and we knocked it up in the park, and it's just we did great. It's like cool, but actually, what are the things that could go wrong, went wrong? How you kind of work through that process. When you're talking in interviews, I feel like that's more important than just showing, here's a picture, or I've done this, and this is another case study. Da, da, da. When you're sending that through to someone, right, that end person is just looking at this. But what is actually going on in their head? Why don't we just talk? Like have a conversation, I find that much easier than just contracting interviews are so much easier
Totally.
than a permit. I'm like, come on, stop
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah,
5 interviews before you go, okay, do you know what? You are the one. Thanks.
yeah,
You could
yeah.
have
I
figured this
find that
out.
I've had the same experience. Like, yeah, contract interviews, they're like half an hour. You know, and the thing
Think
is
about the
like,
context. They
yeah,
don't have time to waste.
yeah,
If they don't make a decision quick, you're then gone to another person. Whereas with
yeah,
a permanent, it's like you could go off with another person, but now you're invested and this is the interview stages. We need to know if this is perfect fit. You're never going to know that. Someone could actually be a comedian, show you something in that 5 stage interview, giving you the job. They've shown you the best version of themselves, but actually, when they're actually doing the role itself, they're not great at it. They're not capable at it. What are you going to do then? This is my brain always thinking about it in that way and going, why do you, why do people have to do this many? It's like you're wasting your
it's
time.
it's broken. Yeah, it's definitely broken. And something that I've noticed about your career is that you, on a few occasions, have contracted somewhere and then gone perm, or sometimes been perm and then contracted for the same client. Which I've often thought, like, isn't that like the solution to this interview process? And I've actually said that a gig that I might be starting soon is that I just said to them, like, because they had some perm roles going and contract. I said, look, can I just contract for you for a bit? We can get to know each other, and like maybe I'll go perm at the end of it, or maybe you don't want me to go perm, but like at least like that's the best interview really, because then you'll get to work with me for 6 months, and
Yeah.
like I just kind of feel like surely that's the best way to rather than portfolio reviews and stuff. If you kind of have a rough sense that someone's right, is a bit like a trial period, really,
That's
but
exactly it. It's
paid.
yeah, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
But that's exact. Isn't that the whole that what was it? Temporary contract, 3 months.
yeah. You
What's it
get that
called?
kind of thing.
What's that word? Where
What,
they
like
see if
a
you're
a
uh,
trial? Do you
that's
mean,
it.
or
Yeah,
because I think as like as a freelancer and someone like yourself as well, who's jumped between freelance and perm, you're like, I know this is going to sound really weird, but like you're ready to be fired at any minute. And what I mean by that is like if you got
that's me
fired
tired.
tomorrow in your
Yeah,
perm job, your portfolio's ready to go, your CV's ready to go,
and then
like
it
you know
starts.
how to do freelancing. And they say like perm's safer. Perm's not safer right now. People are getting fired all the
It
time.
was never safe. I didn't. I never understood that,
It's an illusion.
I never understood it. I was like, why do you think your job is safe? I've been here for 20. No, no.
Yeah,
You can.
yeah.
You you are. You don't own the company. Someone could come in and go, do you know what? We don't need you anymore, and you're out. What do you do then? And I think maybe because, and I know a lot of people say they're comfortable, blah blah blah, but I don't think it's that. I think it's the change. Uh,
Psychological, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Your identity's right. Like, and I think that's another aspect of going freelance and perm a lot is that psychologically, like, you kind of like not wrapped up in the identity of your job in the same way that someone who's perm for like 20 years, 10, 15 years, like them losing their job is like that's like up there with getting divorced, you know. Whereas like freelance is kind of like hard for a weekend maybe, and then you're on it again. And I think in the market as it is today, like that's probably a more resilient way to be as a
I mean, it
practice
could be
designer.
another
And
a skill set. So I am strategic, and I tell you, this takes over my personal life as well. So it's not a great skill to have all the time. But
yeah, you see too much.
I see too much, and it's if this happens, what do I do next? Da-da-da. And I'm planning all of that out. So it's like, okay, if I was to lose my job, do I then? Okay, this is what I can do. I'm ready. And I don't think, a lot of people have different skill sets. So having that is, unless it happens, then you kind of think on your feet, or you're just going, okay, right, what's just happened? What do I do next?
Yeah.
So I don't, yeah.
We're almost running to a close, and I want to make sure that because you said you needed to finish on time, so I want to make sure we do that. I just had a couple of very like closing questions I wanted to ask you. Um, what are you most proud of that you've worked on?
Ooh, no.
That could be anything. Could be your own work, like does gallery work, anything.
Okay, yeah. So then it would be that because I I've always been creative. I was very good at art. Um, but I wasn't encouraged to pursue that path because the teachers back then would be like, "There's no money in it. Da, 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 don't do that. Don't do that." Okay,
Mm.
cool. So I went down the graphic design, web design route, and that brought me to the road where I can be in a position where I was able to afford to buy a house and do all of these things. But then I thought, if I don't try, I will never know, and I will always be that person that says things but never does it.
Yeah,
And I didn't want to be that person because I was like, that's just eating up away at me. And I thought, okay, let me try. What's the worst that can happen? And I always think, what's the worst that can happen? So I started drawing again and designing and stuff. And I thought, you know what? Let me just book in an exhibition. So I did. And then I decided
yeah,
my work. And I absolutely hate talking about my work or showing it, or so I would
really.
just wanted to, yeah. But then the amount of people that different things they were just talking, and I've done three exhibitions, and the third one I had younger people who wanted to do the same thing, and they go, oh, I don't know what to do. I said, listen, just do it, just fucking do it. Those thoughts are the thoughts that are going to stop you from doing it, no matter
Love
what.
it.
Just do it, just go. I'm going to do it, and just do it. Don't
Mm.
think about it, because when you start thinking about it, you start wanting. I'm a perfectionist, and I hate it because it just then it goes. It needs to be perfect for you to get. No, if I can just go, this is the date, this is what I'm going to work to, and this is what I'm going to do, then I'll do it. So I'm very proud of actually having my work displayed, and yeah, I
Amazing.
want to do
Yeah.
more.
I think that's a great note to finish on. Yeah, I love it. And is there a link that we can see your gallery work on, or something that you maybe can share that with me? I can put it in post, if you want to share that.
It's
That
on
might be interesting.
Instagram. I don't really update it because I don't really like doing socials.
Okay.
It's
Well,
very
if you want to
consistent.
share it, I'll put a link up and perhaps
But
people can have a
yeah, I
look at
can
that.
share it.
Um,
And currently, and I know this is, if this goes live, I'm going to have to do it, continue with it. But I'm learning how to do tattooing, so I'm just
really
that's
amazing. That's so cool.
because I've just thought I've done ring making, I've done various other things. I was like, let me just see where I find joy, and I do find joy in kind of making things and designing things. So I was like, right, let me just carry on and see where
Awesome. That's such a cool thing. Yeah, tattooing. I love it. That's
I
great. Cool. Well, perhaps we'll see some tattoo designs in
I
the near
might do a
future.
little tattoo on you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Nice one. Kirsty, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for trusting me to be on the Deeply Human podcast. Yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And hopefully other people will find it interesting, amusing, and helpful. That's what we want.
Yeah, this has been nice. It's I like that it's naturally just me and you having a conversation, and we're just and I've basically forgotten what we chatted about. That's my cognitive brain.
Yeah, that was what I wanted. I wanted us to go into that world. So thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I hope you have an awesome day.
Thank you. You
Awesome.
too.